Okay, so we have Shitkari Pranayama. First of all, do you have any questions before we start?
I have a question about how Shitkari Pranayama and Ujjayi are contrasting, especially with fatigue or laziness or lack of energy. It seems like in the reading for both, they've addressed lack of energy or laziness.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how they're contrasted or what the difference in
Well,
that respect is.
First of all, you must see the logic in the order in which the exercises are presented. Shitkari Pranayama is introduced after we have done Surya Vedana and Ujjayi Pranayama, because of the point of view that people are lacking both energies, but the reason of the lack of each of these energies is different. Shiva energy flows in easily and naturally, but the Shiva channels, Ida, as it is called, have obstacles that block Shiva inflow. But Shiva inflow is already happening if you just sit still or lie down for a moment, just close your eyes. It can be in the bus, it can be in a taxi, in a subway. When you arrive home and you just crash on the sofa or so, Shiva comes in easily. It's those moments that you hear nada clearly also. Shakti is another story. People are generally lacking Shakti because Shakti is an energy that needs to be activated, actively taken in. Now, what we have done at first, from the very beginning of our yoga training, we have actually worked with Shakti. Asana practice is working with Shakti. Pranayama, we started with Nadi Shodhana. That was basically a whole cleansing of the energy channels, both Ida and Pingala, both Shiva Shakti channels. And then we started with Shakti energy exercises. Because to increase Shiva, you must first start with Shakti. And that is why you have this logical build-up, the way that it is presented. There is a natural law that if you increase Shakti energy, naturally the amount of Shiva will also increase. Unfortunately, it doesn't work the other way around, because Shakti simply needs activation. So if you increase amount of Shiva, it doesn't automatically lead to increase of Shakti, because Shakti requires movement. Or we have learned another way to increase Shakti, that is by using mind power. By mind power, using the power of imagination, we have learned to take in Shakti energy without needing to go into physical movement. Laziness, lethargy, is the result. The impression appears that laziness is a result of having too much Shiva. You can say that in this way, but it is more easily understood if you say that it is a lack of Shakti energy. Shakti energy is the energy that activates, that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel active, creative. You want to move, etc. You want to do. So, naturally, when you are seriously lacking Shakti, Shiva is dominating. That gives the impression that you have too much Shiva. But actually we have learned last week, discussing Ujjayi Pranayama, that we are not just lacking Shakti, we are also lacking Shiva. And this bit of Shiva that we have is dominating, leading to laziness, lethargy, resulting in depression, mind disease, psychological diseases. We have started to increase Shakti from the beginning, starting with asana. Then we started cleaning up the energy channels with Nadi Shodhana, which we have done for 12 classes before doing anything else in pranayama. And then we started increasing Shakti with the pranayama exercise. So every time we add another element, another dimension, we are gradually increasing more and more power. We started on growth level and we gradually start building more energy on subtle level, which is the mental body. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it answers the question. I remember you talked about it last week with the Ujjayi, but what you said about lacking Shakti, it seems like Shiva domination, and is that what causes the lethargy?
It is Shiva domination with a lack of Shakti. Yeah. But the Shiva is dominating does not automatically mean, and this is where the confusion comes from, I think, does not automatically mean that we have too much of Shiva. Because we are lacking Shakti, seriously, the bit of Shiva that we have, which is actually not enough, but the bit of Shiva that we have is dominating. Also try to see the difference between laziness and fatigue. They are easily confused. They seem to be the same, but they are opposites. Laziness is a condition, it's just a lack of energy. It's not the result of being too busy or being too much active, like a fanatic workout or a long work day or so. Laziness is just a lack of energy, lethargy. And that is indeed a domination of Shiva energy. You solve laziness by increasing Shakti energy. Generally that is done with exercise. That is what normal people do who don't know about yoga. But we have a very balanced way of increasing Shakti, starting with physical exercise. Which is not just physical exercise, it's very measured. So we try, if you just do normal exercise, working out in the gym, jogging, cycling, you generate Shakti, but you generate it in an uncontrolled way, which then leads to the balance swinging from tamas to rajas. And when there is too much rajas, it must go back to tamas again to come to balance. So most human beings are just constantly swinging from tamas to rajas, hardly ever ending up where we are supposed to be, which is in sattva, in the middle. The typical characteristic of yoga practice is that it is very measured and controlled, and you more and more experience sattva. You basically take the swing out of this balance, constantly, violently swinging from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. One time being very tamas, the other time being very rajas. When you are very tamas, active people know this. On Sunday, for example, while other people sleep long and just want to spend the day leisurely and being lazy all day, active people counter their Shiva domination by going out. They make a long walk on the mountain in their neighborhood. They go cycling, go to the gym, They just come into action because they like that feeling of Shakti. They like that feeling. They don't like the feeling of tamas. It makes them heavy and depressed, and they'd rather just go out and move and feel that thrill of the Shakti, of the being active and energetic. That requires, of course, a little bit of discipline. The sensitive people have no problem with that discipline because simply they choose to feel good. What we are trying to do constantly from the beginning, and that's why we have this very particular approach to asana practice also. What we're trying to do is to take the swing out of this balance and try to more and more stay in the center, in sattva, harmony. So laziness is the result of Shiva domination, but actually you're lacking Shakti. Exhaustion, fatigue, is the result of too much Shakti. Being busy, having a long work day, or fanatic workout, or a very long bicycle ride, is constantly generating Shakti. And if you do that too much, the balance is swinging too much to the Raja side, you become exhausted. And you experience that as fatigue. You want to go home and just take a rest. Taking a rest allows Shiva to come in, bringing the balance back to the other side. This issue of tamas, rajas will come back also in the science of soul. The fact that you become more and more sensitive and that you also consciously understand how all this works will also lead you to make more and more adjustments into your life. You will feel more and more that you don't want to be so busy. You want to do your thing, you want to live your life, but you don't want to be so busy anymore. You feel resistance working 8-9 hours a day. Gradually you will find ways to still live a good life, earn enough money, but working less hours. And that is just a matter of time. It's not a matter of taking drastic measures, like quitting your job or so, that will only lead to instability and misery. It's just a matter of time. Over time, because of your insights, you will here and there, you will see an opportunity to make an adjustment, and when it comes along, while other people don't see it, you see it and you grab it. In a practical way, and I like this very much, people come to Korea, it's just a generalization, but people come to Korea to teach English. So they start at a hagwon with terrible working hours, working 5-6 days a week. Then they come to yoga, and then they go back home. They increase their qualifications. They go back to school. Sometimes they do it in Korea, and they get a master's degree in English. And when they come back, they work at university, and then they have the ideal job: good pay, good conditions, and not so many working hours. And that's ideal for a yogi. But this is only possible if you do that in a non-violent way without causing disruption. This is only possible if you carefully plan and put in, of course, the effort and the discipline to get your degree. Because ideal situation, the university jobs in Korea are really very much coveted, but only possible if you have proper qualifications. So we have Shitkari Pranayama. The 54th Sutra says, then Shitkari is described. Make a hissing sound with the mouth while drawing energy in and release only through the nostril. By the yoga consisting of repeated practice of this, one becomes a second god of beauty. This is, of course, symbolical description. We don't make hissing sound with the mouth. This is not a breathing exercise. The nostril that is mentioned here is, of course, Chandrabindu. We call that a cosmic nostril. What is interesting about this description is, of course, the promise that you become a second god of beauty, or a Kama Deva, which is, a Deva is a divine being, and Kama is desire. The Kama Sutra is the sutra that deals with desire. So you become not a god of beauty, you become a god of desire. You become a desired object. What the hell is this? What does this mean? To understand that, you need to know where beauty actually comes from. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika is not a fashion magazine that sells cosmetics to make you look more beautiful. It is trying to help you understand how life comes into being and how it is sustained. You know that energy manifests into matter as a result of the condensation of energy. Energy becomes more and more dense, and the final station is solid matter. Your physical body is a result of that. Shiva energy is the energy that descends into condensation, into physical matter. You can see this with a baby. You can see this with a mom who is pregnant also. When the baby is in the belly, it is in fact manifesting into matter in a very rapid pace. Cells are multiplying by the minute almost. That is manifestation into matter of energy. So mom is bristling, radiating with energy, and Shiva energy in particular, because it is Shiva energy that is responsible for the multiplication of the cells. The Shiva energy is the energy responsible for creation. After the baby is born, gradually the mom will lose that brilliance, that radiation. But the baby, still growing for the next 18 years or so, the baby is bristling with energy. Skin is very soft and oily. Eyes are big and bright. The child is, in fact, a god of beauty. What happens when the growth period is over is that slowly you switch from Shiva to Shakti. And this is a process from birth all the way down to the day you die. This is called oxidation process. So in the growth period, as a result of large amounts of Shiva that manifest into matter in your physical body, that's why a child grows so fast, there are more cells being produced than that are dying. Slowly there is a switch taking place in which more cells die than that there are produced. So this is the process that you are subject to as a normal human being. So these days you can buy many products, antioxidants. Those are like tomatoes. In fact, many vegetables are antioxidants, but some more than others. You have seeds these days and powders that have the same effect. But in fact, Shiva is our antioxidant. So, if you do all kinds of things in your life that cause Shakti domination, you will grow old quickly. You see this with people, for example, who work hard labor jobs, physical labor. You see this also, of course, with people who don't take care so well of themselves, eat tamas foods, heavy foods, maybe drink, but not really taking well care of themselves. The other side of the coin is that, well, you can see if you see old yogis, if you look at old people, one thing that you will notice is that their skin is dry and it's not shiny, not oily, it's dry. Oxidation process is taking place. There is no lubrication in the joints anymore. Joints become dry, bones become brittle. typical aging symptoms. If you look at old yogi, however, you will see that the skin is still oily, still young. And that doesn't only apply to the skin, that applies to all the cells in your body. And this is the god of beauty. That is the Kamadeva. Can you follow the logic a little bit here? So, this is where in yoga you will many times you will come across the statement that you become immortal. Well, I don't believe that you become immortal, and I think there are some misunderstandings about the issue, but there are two ways to look at it. Your practice and your control of the oxidation process will lead to you remaining young. Your cells remain young, but also mentally. You get older, but you're still that little child, that little girl or little boy, full of joy, bliss, happiness, while other people become dark and boring and have no such higher emotions anymore. The least thing you can say when it comes to immortality is that at least you will extend your life considerably in years. And not only will you extend it, you have the possibility of growing old without all the proverbial diseases that, well, it's not proverbial, with all the usual diseases that people are confronted with when growing old, when aging. That means that you can just grow old without all those limitations, healthy and happy. And maybe you will just die one night in your sleep without having any suffering, all those sufferings that most old people go through. eventually ending up being hospitalized. That is one thing. Another element of this immortality that is often mentioned, and I have not come across anywhere this position. I have come across the position that you become immortal, literally, physically, and that is just, there are no examples of this, so I think that is just nonsense, a misinterpretation. The immortality that is often mentioned, in my opinion, is the fact that when you break the cycle of reincarnation, you don't manifest into a physical body anymore. The immortality is not the immortality of your physical body, it is the immortality of staying up there and not coming down into a physical body anymore. That is the eternal life. '55th Sutra. He becomes an object, you can replace he with she, of course. He becomes an object of high regard among the circles of yoginis. You can replace yoginis with yogis, of course. He is able to create and destroy. Neither hunger nor thirst, somnolence nor indolence arise in him. This has various interesting pieces of information. You become an object of high regard among the opposite sex, or the same sex if that is what you're interested in, of course. Why is that? That is because you become harmonious. You become not only physically, your body, you are a god of beauty, as the previous sutra said, but overall, your energy is harmonious. The way you express yourself, the way you present yourself, everything gradually transforms and everything becomes more and more harmonious. This is inner beauty. This is very attractive to other people. Not only necessarily in terms of sexuality, relationships and so on. People just overall, in general, feel good being around you. Appreciate your character, your presence, your being. And that, of course, automatically includes in terms of relationships, as here you become an object of high regard among potential partners. Ability to create and destroy is very simple. Shiva energy is the energy of creation. Shakti energy is the energy of destruction. Shakti energy is responsible for the oxidation process in your cells. That is a form of destruction. Shiva energy, on the other hand, is responsible for the multiplication of cells. That is creation. You become a master of destruction and creation and destruction, because you learn to control your energies. You can influence your energetic condition based upon the techniques that you learn, and combined with that, your deep insights in how it works. Neither hunger nor thirst, somnolence nor indolence arise. There are examples of people who indeed feed themselves with the celestial energies. They do not eat or drink. I've mentioned a couple of times Prahlajani, who has been put into controlled circumstances to check whether he actually eats or drinks, whether he goes to the toilet. It appears that he doesn't for 14 days in a row. Well, last time I think they put him 21 days in a row. But I've come across another example of this in the biography of a yogi. It's a very interesting book that I recommend you to read when you have a chance, when you have time to read and when you have a chance to lay your hands on it. Autobiography of a Yogi is from Swami Paramahansa Yogananda. It's a very interesting book that gives a very good idea of the nature of yoga. It's a book that is written in the 30s, 40s, I think, of the 19th, 20th century, long before yoga became popular and fashionable and so on. It plays a lot in India because he grew up there, but he actually goes to America to spread yoga there in the first half of the 20th century. And the book is also very unbiased, as it quotes many times verses from the Bible, in the New Testament, and is just very open to all religions, and it's a very interesting book. I can highly recommend it. In that book is also mention of a lady who, like Prahlajani, never eats or drinks. She feeds herself with milk and honey through a hole in the palate, like Prahlajani also does. On a more practical level, we do not pursue, of course, to go without food or water. If such condition arises, then it will come as a result of your practice, not because you pursue it. Pursuing it will lead to lots of undesirable conflicts and misery. But you may have noticed that your appetite changes. You feel less hunger and thirst. You feel less need for food. And not only that, you are more attracted to pure foods rather than processed foods, just in a very natural way. Your taste changes. Your needs also change. So more and more you become harmonious, more and more you feel resistance eating foods that disturb that harmony. If you have practiced yoga on a regular basis, you have also noticed that you're much less subject to the swings of mood and swings of condition. So indolence nor somnolence arise in you. You become much more steady and stable, having large amounts of energy throughout the day without the usual ups and downs that people go through in the daytime. This happens if you practice every day. Strength of body is gained by this practice, and the Lord of Yogins becomes surely free of afflictions of every kind on this earthly sphere. This is interesting. Just as a result of your changing energy condition, your body becomes stronger. You become healthier. Without the need to work out with machines or jogging, exercising any way or another. Just the fact that you change your energy condition leads to healthier cells. Automatically that leads to higher levels of energy. It leads to better health. The diseases that you are suffering from, small and big, gradually disappear. and you don't develop other ailments anymore. You don't get sick anymore. Have you noticed this? I never get sick anymore. Sometimes once a year or so, I do get a little flu or so. When there is a flu wave. But there are 5 or 6 flu waves in a year. Some people catch a flu every time such a wave comes over the country. It doesn't happen anymore. While everybody falls ill with the flu, you do not anymore. And sometimes it does happen, and when it happens, you know also why. It's not just because of the flu wave, it is because for a week you have been busier than usual. For a week, while you were being so busy, you neglected your cooking a little bit, and you ate some less good quality food, and maybe you had a party the day before or 2 days before, you slept late, you drank a little, and all those factors combined have then led you to catch that flu wave. You don't get sick anymore, but when you do, you know exactly why. Because of your deep insight in the law of cause and effect. This means that also that just that one-time occurrence of flu that you did get it could have been prevented if you had been more alert. There is a mention in the handout about your liberty to pick pranayama exercise depending on your condition. It's a little bit too early for that because you haven't learned all the exercises yet. However, what this is about is that based upon your understanding, your insight, you do eventually pick the exercise that is necessary to correct your condition. So based upon your assessment, you assess whether you are in a tamas or a rajas condition. You pick an exercise that will then bring you to sattva. So last week when we did Ujjayi Pranayama, actually Eve decided to do Shikari Pranayama. She has done all the exercises already, done the advanced course. She knows how it works. She has also come to understand her condition is predominantly Shakti. She's a Shakti kind of person. And doing a Shakti exercise actually leads to restlessness, like drinking a cup of coffee. You will all gradually become more and more sensitive to your typical condition. Everybody has a typical bodily constitution. In Ayurveda, you find that also in Vata, Pitta, and Kapha conditions. And based on that, an Ayurvedic doctor, for example, would give each individual person a different medicine for the same disease, depending on your condition. You become your own doctor. You give yourself your own medicine based upon your own assessment of your typical constitution. The same as with asana, if you do not know what to do, and when it comes to pranayama, we haven't done all the exercises yet, and those that we have done, we haven't repeated that often yet. If you don't know what to do, follow the schedule, just as an experiment. As a result of that approach, you will become more familiar with the exercises, the nature of the exercises, and your condition. And if you are a diligent practitioner practicing every day, generally you can say pick a Shakti exercise for the morning, because the energy in the morning is predominantly Shakti in nature, and you need Shakti to wake up from your sleep, from the night. So a Shakti pranayama will emphasize that process of waking up and activate and energize you. In the evening, if you do a Shakti energy exercise in the evening, like Ujjayi, you will not be able to sleep.
I did that with
Right.
it really restless sleep.
Yeah. So let that be an experience. Let that be a lesson into how it works.
Yeah.
And so it's better to do a Shiva exercise in the evening, like Shitali or Shitkari. Do you have any questions about the handout? I've covered most while reading the sutras of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. There may be something in there you would like to be explained.
I have another question.
Yes, Brian.
Aside from like the Shakti exercise in the morning and Shiva pranayama in the evening, is it a good idea to stay with one for a week or 2 weeks? Like the same two, or do one, the same one for like, rather than switching on a daily basis, like to stay with one pranayama for some time? Is that a good idea? Or?
Yeah. In general, it is good to, if you switch every day to another exercise, it's very fickle, kind of. If you do every day the same, then it brings about a real effect that consolidates, and that really gives you deep insight of what is going on and how it is affecting you. And if it is affecting you in a good way, auspiciously, you keep that. You can continue to do it or go on to a higher exercise that will build upon that. If you notice that it doesn't work out well, that actually it's affecting you, bringing you down from what you've already achieved, then you must decide to leave it behind and move on to another experiment. But in general, it is good to routinely repeat an exercise so that you become really, you become one with it by repeating it. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah.
My question is funny, but do you recommend any special type of exercise for jet lag? Or it depends on the person if it's more Shiva or Shakti. I get the impression that for me, increase Shiva and I'm not exactly righteous, but I'm not kind of Shiva domination.
Yeah, jet lag is really a serious issue. Many people who travel intercontinental, who go through many time zones, when they travel, they become sick when they return. Summer, winter, doesn't matter. People just become sick. So it shows that it really deeply affects your condition. Well, if you want to know a yoga or pranayama exercise, I would recommend Shiva, just because the disturbance is in fact exhausting, so the best thing you can do is rest a lot. But on a practical level, just apart from yoga, what you need to do is to come back as quickly as possible to the day and night rhythm of where you are, the time zone where you are. The jet lag is caused because although you have moved to another time zone, your biological clock is behind, is still functioning according to the time zone in Europe or America. So in the past I suffered very severely from jet lag because I couldn't resist to take a nap. You arrive back in Korea or you arrive in Europe. Often you skip a whole night because you fly with the sun. You skip a whole night. You've been up for more than 24 hours and you come home 11 o'clock in the morning. Like a ghost, you're totally exhausted. The wise thing to do is to wait until the evening and just sleep early, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, doesn't matter, but sleep early according to the time zone you are in. But that is, if you're so exhausted, having skipped the night and traveling through all these time zones, and then while it is actually, it's like going through a long weekend of boozing. You arrive home 11 o'clock Sunday morning. When you go out, of course, you go to sleep at that time and you recover. But here you have the complication of having gone through those time zones and your biological clock being confused. You're so exhausted, you cannot. I just don't know what to do, and I'm so exhausted. I cannot focus on anything. I can't read a book to keep me awake until 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. I can't watch TV, I'm totally not. You just fall asleep. But I've learned to just control myself and not take a nap. And that is just practically without yoga exercise, that is the most efficient way to deal with the jet lag. To force the biological clock back into the new night and day rhythm. It's very difficult. Yeah?
So, if we are choosing between the Shakti Shiva energy, say I want to do Shakti Pranayama, and Surya Vedana and Ujjayi are both Shakti. So how would I go about, do I need to do Ujjayi today or Surya Vedana? What's the fine-tuning even further into the Shakti? What is the difference? Which should I choose? Or even when we learn future ones, like, there will be a bunch that will be Shiva and a bunch that will be Shakti, and how do we go to choosing between?
When you do a Shakti exercise, pick Ujjayi.
Always Ujjayi.
Ujjayi comes after Surya Vedana. The Surya Vedana is a kind of an introduction into Ujjayi. Ujjayi builds upon Surya Vedana. That means also that Surya Vedana is an effective exercise, but Ujjayi is more effective. And since you have done Surya Vedana previously, you might as well take the one that is more effective.
So let's say I went to a break of meditating or didn't have time, then I would go back to Surya Vedana and then continue with Ujjayi after that. Like go back to start with Surya Vedana.
Yeah, if you're out of practice for a while, you could indeed go back to a previous exercise before doing the next one again. You will see also that throughout the course, we'll just continue repeating the whole cycle. After we've done Plavini Pranayama, which is the last one, we will just go back again to Surya Vedana. Sometimes we will repeat what's it called again? Yeah, Nadishadana Pranayama, the one with 2 cycles. Sometimes we will repeat that one once or twice and then again with Surya Vedana. But what we do every time is increase the time, the count. We are at 20, 80, 40, 80 now. Next time we will go to 24, 96, 48, 96, and etc. Towards the end of the course, you will be at 44, 190 something, 192, so on. So the purpose of just repeating those exercises is to increase intensity by increasing time. You become more and more familiar.